Earlier this week, the Pokemon TCG community received some pretty surprising news. Lysandre's trump card has been banned from sanctioned tournaments. Shortly before this announcement, we had heard that the card had been banned in Japan, but Japan has always been a bit ahead of us when it comes to trying to balance the format, and we don't always get the same rulings here. For example, Japan banned Tropical Beach a few years ago, but we didn't see a similar ban. So, not many saw it coming when we received the same ban here, especially since we were only a few weeks away from Nationals. In this video, we're going to take a look at why they issued the ban and what this means for the current state of the game. There's a short article on Pokemon.com that describes why it was banned in the first place, and they give out 4 points. It eliminates one of your opponent's victory conditions, it allows repeated use of powerful trainer cards, it allows drawing through your deck with minimal repercussions, and it extends the time of battles. And we're going to take a look at each of these points a little more in depth. Their first point, it eliminates one of your opponent's victory conditions. So, if you cannot draw a card at the beginning of your turn, you deck out and lose. This forces players to be aware of how fast they burn through their deck and how they use their resources. If you notice that your opponent is only a few turns away from decking out, you could easily stall for a few turns for the win. But with trump card in the format, you would never want to take this defensive approach, as soon as your opponent plays that trump card, the entire game changes. Number 2, it allows for the repeated use of powerful trainer cards. There are many cards in our format that were never meant to be played more than 4 times, or in the case of Ace-Specs, once per game. Hypnotoxic Laser, Hammers, Ace-Specs, Headringers are just a few of the cards that players hate to see their opponents play, especially playing them 8 or more times per game. But it was the combination of Shaymin EX from Roaring Skies with Acrobike and Trainer's Mail that really made Lysandre's trump card powerful. Shaymin's ability lets you draw until you have 6 cards in your hand. Trainer's Mail lets you look at the top 4 cards of your deck and lets you choose any trainer you may find. Acrobike lets you draw 2 cards, put one in your hand, and discard the other. This combination essentially lets you run through most of your deck in one turn, letting you not only set up much faster than your opponent, but giving you access to cards that could slow them down as well, like Headringers, Lasers, Hammers. So in order to beat a deck with this engine, you either have to run it yourself and outspeed them, or run something that counters it. And the choice for many have been to run trainer lock decks with Seismitoad EX or Trevenant with the Wally supporter to let them set up on turn 1. So this has led to kind of a stalemate in the format. You either run something that sets up fast and hits hard fast, or something that just completely disrupts your opponent with trainer lock and you take your knockout slowly. Number 3, it allows for you to draw through your entire deck with minimal repercussions. So we kind of already touched on this one. With the Shaymin, Acrobike, Trainer's Mail combo, you can easily run through most of your deck on the first turn, play a Lysandre's trump card on the second turn, usually with a BS Seeker, and you do it all over again on the third turn. There's not much to keep a deck like this in check. You'd have to play Trainer Lock as well as Ability Lock to shut down the entire engine, so the person playing this deck would really never have to worry about decking out, unless his Lysandre's trump card was prized. But even Trainer Lock isn't a complete guarantee. Resource management has always been a big part of the game, but by including one Lysandre's trump card in every deck, you never needed to worry about it. Number 4, it extends the time of battles. For most situations, this isn't nearly as much of a concern as the earlier points. Matches already have time limits, and the tie system penalizes those that take too long. Those using Lysandre's trump card will want to be sure that they're maintaining a fast pace, at least enough to ensure the win. However, Lysandre's trump card can be used as a stall tactic to force a tie, or if you won your first match, to force the win. The Shaymin EX Acrobike Trainer's Mail combo can easily take a few minutes to do, especially if you're taking your time playing each and every card. You can also use that Lysandre's trump card to get your Hammers and Lasers back to just stall your opponent and prevent them from attacking as well. So now I just want to touch on my personal feelings. I was initially upset when I heard about the ban. I've always been a huge fan of cards that allowed a little bit of recovery, and I've run one in just about every deck that I've played over the years. My favorites have been Super Rod and Night Maintenance, where you get an option of Pokemon and or energy to put back into your deck. But we don't have a card like that in the format. We have cards that only get back Pokemon, that only get back energy, or do something different like Dowsing Machine getting back one trainer card. But even I can admit that Lysandre's trump card took things a little too far. Getting your entire deck back with the only drawback of doing the same for your opponent is much more than just a simple recovery card. I do really hope, though, that we get something like Super Rod or Night Maintenance printed very soon. So now that we've covered why the card has been banned, let's take a look at some of the downsides. Number 1, value. With the card banned, what do you do with your Lysandre's trump cards now? For those of us that played cheap and only had the regular art version, we're really not that upset about the drop in value of the card. I'm maybe a little more upset that all the extra Lysandre's trump cards that I have in the binder are pretty much worth the same as any other unusable, common, or uncommon, but that's not really that big of a deal. But many Pokemon players insist on blinging out their decks as much as possible, and I can see where those with the full art Lysandre's trump cards will be a little upset when their cards have drastically decreased in value. Bad starts. We've all had those bad start games. You're playing a Toad variant and you find that your first hand contains 3 Juniper and 2 DCE. You might draw past for a few turns, hoping to get a shuffle supporter, but after a few dead draws, you're usually just forced to Juniper the hand away. With Lysandre's trump card, you wouldn't be so upset over losing the Junipers, and more importantly, the multiple DCEs, as you could put them back at any point later. Or maybe your opponent hit 4 out of 4 hammerhead flips, and you need your energy back. Lysandre's trump card allowed you to recover from situations that would otherwise be out of your control. Strategy. Lysandre's trump card isn't just a recovery card, it's also used as a counter to other decks. Currently, Night March is a deck that has gained the most with the ban. Night March utilizes Battle Compressors, Ultra Balls, and sometimes Acro Bikes to get as many Pokemon into the discard pile as possible to boost the base attack power. It's extremely fast, yet Lysandre's trump card resets the work each turn it was used, allowing the opposing deck to try and gain some board control back. Without it, there's not really a good way to slow down Night March other than just straight Trainer Lock. But Trainer Lock decks are heavily criticized, and many players refuse to play them just based on principle, especially Seismitoad EX. The more Trainer Lock decks in the format, the less we see creative rogue decks that can utilize Pokemon that evolve with rare candy, and the need for high HP basics to survive T2 180 attacks from a Joltik increase. Mega Pokemon have already broken that 200 HP line. Will it be 300 next? In conclusion, the ban is a good thing for the current state of the game, but it's only the tip of a much bigger problem. How could this have slipped past the design team? I'm not really concerned that Lysandre's trump card was printed in the first place. It was a great card in the beginning. People included one in most decks as a counter to Night March, and for a bit of insurance on decking out. But most games it was never played. When Acro Bike was printed, there still wasn't a problem. But then we hit Roaring Skies, and were presented with 2 cards that made the combo complete. Shaman EX and Trainer's Mail. How could the experts not see this lethal combination? Before the release of Roaring Skies, we already saw a hint of the power of this combo. There was a variant of Seismitoad where the draw engine consisted of 4 Juniper, 4 Random Receiver, 4 VS Seeker, and 1 Lysandre's trump card. The point was to Juniper every turn to hit your DCEs, Muscle Bands, Head Ringers, Lasers, Hammers, then use Lysandre's trump card and do it all over again. The damage output was low compared to some decks, but the disruption and speed is what made this deck work. So what did the design team do? They improved upon this engine by printing a trainer and a Pokemon to go along with it. I really hope that these recent decisions won't reflect on the future of the game. I hope this answered the concerns of some of you who are wondering why the ban had to happen. Hope everyone enjoyed, and will stay tuned for more.